Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're taking a seriously fascinating journey into the intricate world of VLSI and chip testing. Have you ever wondered how engineers guarantee that incredibly complex microchips are going to work flawlessly before they ever make it into our smartphones, our computers, or our cars? Well, let's break it down.
So, the core question we're tackling today is actually pretty straightforward. How exactly does STA, static timing analysis, handle different operating modes? I want you to think of this explainer as a guided factory tour through a microchip's distinct testing and power states. We're going to look closely at the exact mechanisms that ensure a chip's timing is absolutely perfect under a variety of very different physical conditions.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The gateway to VLSI. 2. Moving and capturing data. 3. Memory and speed tests. 4. Entering deep sleep. And finally, number 5, the true role of STA.
All right, let's dive right into this with Section 1, the gateway to VLSI.
You know, every single microchip out there has to go through some incredibly rigorous validation. I mean, before these chips can even think about shipping out and powering our digital world, engineers have to place them into very specific internal operational modes to test their logic and to manage their power. Understanding these specific modes is absolutely crucial to understanding how modern electronics are made to be so unbelievably reliable.
Moving right along, here is Section 2, moving and capturing data.
Okay, so picture this. On one side, we have scan shift. During scan testing, individual flip-flops inside the chip are actually daisy-chained together to form this long sequence, which we call a scan chain. In scan shift mode, test data is shifted serially into place through these scan flip-flops using a dedicated scan clock. Now, contrast that with scan capture on the other side. After that test pattern is fully shifted into the chain, the circuit is allowed to briefly operate, generate a real response, and then capture it.
Now here is the absolutely crucial point for scan shift mode. Hold timing is everything. From an STA perspective, when we're analyzing the timing of that scan chain, we have to make sure data does not reach the next flip-flop in the sequence too early. It's kind of like a group of people standing in a line, waiting for a camera flash before stepping forward to the next mark. If someone moves way too fast, they literally bump into the person ahead of them. The data collides, and the sequence gets overwritten before it's properly set up. STA verifies this hold timing to prevent that exact crash.
Right, so once that shifting is totally done, we enter scan capture, and boom, the timing requirements instantly change. Because the circuit is now generating an actual response that's being recorded back into the scan flip-flops, STA has to step in and check both setup and hold timing constraints. Basically, the data must arrive exactly on time, that's your setup, and it has to stay stable long enough to be securely recorded, that's your hold. This is what guarantees complete data integrity during the whole capture operation.
That brings us to Section 3, memory and speed tests.
First up here is MBIST, which stands for Memory Built-in Self-Test. This is literally an on-chip controller dedicated entirely to testing embedded memories, things like SRAM and register files. Think of it as an active, automated testing station located directly inside the chip itself, just hunting for memory faults by performing very specific write and read patterns. The chip is effectively testing its own memory banks.
Now, you might be wondering, while this controller is busy testing the memory, what exactly is STA doing? Well, the timing inspector, STA, is rigorously verifying the timing of the MBST mode itself. It meticulously checks the clock, the address lines, the data lines, and all the control signals. Every single thing must be perfectly timed for that MBST controller to accurately report whether the memory is actually faulty or completely functional.
Next up, we've got LOS, or Launch On Shift. This is a genuinely brilliant method used for something engineers call at-speed transition fault testing. And what at-speed means is that we aren't just checking if the circuit basically works, we're testing if it works at the blistering actual speed it's designed to run at when placed in your phone or laptop. We have to know if the internal transitions happen fast enough to meet real-world high-performance demands.
And this brilliantly illustrates a very precise two-part chronological sequence. Step 1, the transition is launched by the very final shift clock pulse. Step 2, the response is immediately captured by the following capture clock. By calculating the exact timing between that final launch and the capture, engineers can test the circuit at exactly its intended operating speed. This ensures there are absolutely no sluggish transitions hiding in the silicon.
Okay, shifting gears, let's look at Section 4, entering deep sleep.
So unlike those highly active testing modes we literally just talked about, deep sleep is specifically a low-power operating mode. When a block on the chip is inactive, we absolutely don't want it just sitting there draining power, right? So power is heavily reduced using 3 specific techniques: power gating, which shuts off the power supply to specific areas entirely; retention, to carefully hold on to essential data states while the rest of the block sleeps; and isolation, to ensure signals don't float around and cause an unintended power draw.
Now you might naturally think, hey, if a block is sleeping, timing probably doesn't matter, right? Well, actually, scratch that, it definitely still matters. STA and low-power analysis still have to carefully consider the appropriate timing behavior for these different power states. Even when a chip is just transitioning in and out of sleep to save battery life, STA still has to verify that these really complex wake-up and sleep transitions happen accurately without violating any of those critical timing requirements.
Which leads us perfectly into our final section, Section 5, the true role of STA.
Let's move to this summary and see how this builds together. We've looked at 5 completely distinct modes today. Scan shift moves the test pattern. Scan capture grabs the circuit response. MBIST tests the memory. LOS performs that at-speed transition testing. And deep sleep significantly reduces power consumption. These are the physical, operational things actively happening inside the chip.
And this brings us to what is probably the biggest misconception in the industry and our most important revelation today. STA does not perform these tests. Let me repeat that. STA verifies whether timing constraints are satisfied in the different operating modes and scenarios. This is so vital to grasp. STA isn't the active tester out on the factory floor. It's the passive, meticulous timing inspector. Its sole job is to analyze all these different modes and guarantee mathematically that every single electrical signal happens precisely when it is supposed to.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative thought. If STA only verifies timing, what happens to the entire chip design if those critical constraints fail? The stark reality is, without STA proving that those timing constraints are perfectly met, literally none of those clever testing modes or power-saving features would function correctly. Data would just collide, tests would return false errors, and sleep modes would corrupt data. STA is the silent guardian making modern semiconductor technology possible. Keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep innovating in the fascinating world of physical design. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.